Tom Thibodeau fired by the Knicks. What do we really know about coaching in the NBA? That plus NBA Finals start on Thursday night. Can the Celtics learn anything from these two teams? It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Yup. Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis. We kept the madness every game, every practice. Prime time, Depp and D White on the sideline. Raining Jays, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. And I got you every Monday through Friday. This podcast is free. It's available everywhere podcasts exist. It's on YouTube. You can watch the show. Love it if you'd watch the show. Get into the comments section. Share your thoughts about everything that's being said here on the pod. I'm John Karalis. I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal, and I've been doing a version of this job for about 20 years. Written a couple books about the team. So let's enjoy a conversation together about the Celtics. Today's show brought to you by FanDuel. New customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Later on, we'll get to NBA Finals. I'm struggling. Normally, the NBA is a copycat league. I don't know what copycat is anymore, and is there anything to copy from these two teams? We'll talk about that, but we're going to start with Tom Thibodeau, the genius, the man who so blatantly outcoached Joe Mazzulla that his team fired him the instant that he lost. We're going to do it with Tom, not Thibodeau, Tom Westerholm.
No.
Tom Westerholm.
I have so much more hair.
You do. You have significant.
I wear a hat, but I do have.
Yeah. And yet somehow his hair is more brown than yours. It's a very dense brown that Tibbs has got going on there.
Yeah, and I don't have any glorious mullet pictures from my youth.
No, you don't. You don't.
No, I was in the unfortunate swoop, emo swoop age, not the mullet age. So.
When I had hair, it never mulleted. It just kind of went outwards. It was just it took a lot of gel hair product. When I was in high school, man, college, so much hair product. So you would not think about it with me as a bald man now.
So think how much money you're saving now.
Oh my God, significant amounts of money.
Yeah.
I personally held up the hair gel industry for about 4 years in the 90s. So it was
You made it what it is today, some might say.
Some might say it.
No.
So the critics, those who not fans of Joe Mazzulla, said Tom Thibodeau. I'd rather have Tom Thibodeau, man. That he's coaching circles around Joe, and he's doing so much better, and blah 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 blah. And I don't remember where. I think I did. I think I said in a comment on Boston Sports Journal, but I couldn't find it. I really went back looking for it. I said Tom Thibodeau is getting fired the minute he loses, and I thought he was going to lose to the Celtics, obviously.
Right.
But the minute he lost, he got canned. Didn't work in New York City for a variety of reasons. And I bring it up. Well, first of all, he's fine. He just signed an extension, $30 million. They extended him last year. They fired him this year. How is that possible? Let's all point and laugh in New York. But also, what does it mean about coaching?
I don't know, man. Last time we pointed and laughed at New York, they beat the Celtics. And so if we point and laugh at New York now, Celtics fans might be mad at us because they might win the title next year. We pointing and laughing at New York. I don't know.
Fine.
They might trip and fall into the finals.
They could trip and fall. I obviously have been wrong. Plenty. When your job is to have takes,
right.
no one's batting 1,000 with their takes. So I still highly doubt that any team in the Dolan era is going to win in New York. But also, look, Thibodeau had his faults, and I'm not turning this into a Knicks podcast. That team also had Jalen Brunson at the point and Karl Anthony Towns as your center. And when your point and your center are both defensive liabilities, it's a problem.
Yeah.
You need one to be awesome defensively and the other, okay, you deal with it. They both suck defensively. So whatever. That's Locked On Knicks has that all covered. I'm more like, people were talking so much smack about Joe Mazzulla. And then here comes Tibbs. And honestly, people don't know what the hell they're talking about when it comes to coaching. And I don't think, I'm not going to sit here and say I even know a lot when it comes to who's coach. People literally, they look at two things or three things when it comes to coaching. Did he call a timeout when you want to call a timeout? Did he put the guy in that you think should be in the game? And when you come out of a timeout and they miss a shot or make a shot, that's it. When Jayson Tatum goes on an ISO, that you get that's what they drew up. No, maybe not. Maybe they said, get out of his way. I don't know. But those are literally the only three things people talk about when it comes to coaching. You don't talk about relationships. You don't talk about the coworker dynamic in the NBA versus coaching from when all of us were playing and very few of us played at a level at that, it's such a different dynamic in the NBA. Even when I played, it was not that dynamic. People don't talk about or don't know what goes into actual coaching in an NBA setting. And so when those other three things didn't happen and all of those things happened, Joe didn't call a timeout in a point where people said was critical, didn't play Peyton Pritchard enough or whatever. And they had failures at the end of games. So everybody's like, that's Joe's fault. And I've been saying, not really. And I think the firing of Tom Thibodeau is like a little bit of I don't want to say vindication because I don't know if it's that connected, but it's at least like, well, he wasn't the genius that everybody was saying he's such a genius because he got fired and he was going to get fired no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, right, about nobody knows what coaches do. I think one of the things that actually affects this the most is those like mic'd up in the huddle sessions where like TNT or ESPN or whatever can only show like they're not allowed to show like half the things. They're not allowed to show, 9.
There's 3 minutes of a timeout.
Yeah.
And they can show like 10 seconds of it.
Yeah, and so they have to show the most generic thing the coach says. And what you don't see is the coach, like giving actual instructions. You see the coach like saying something mildly motivational,
Value the ball.
Yeah, we got to pursue it. It's like, okay. But like, no, I mean, these coaches are saying things and breaking things down at a level that, I mean, that even like the highest level, like writers and stuff are not seeing the game at this level. It's just a completely different thing. So like, I do think that like, yeah, people don't get it, don't understand it. And like, and I mean, the thing about basketball is that, the best coach in the world, if things go wrong, like it's a human game still, like if the Celtics, like Joe Mazzulla's plan could have been perfection. And if the Celtics make 13% of their 3-pointers and they shoot 60 of them, it's like, yeah, you're going to lose that game. Like,
right.
It's just kind of is what it is. If the Celtics don't score for a couple of minutes, that and like, and there's like a schematic thing going on, that might be a coaching problem. If the Celtics don't score for 9 straight minutes in the fourth quarter, something weird and screwy went on and the Celtics lost the game because of it. Like, I think that's like, like when you want to blame Joe Mazzulla for the things that happened in that Knicks series, that's a little tough. It feels like there were some very obvious schematic and just honestly, not schematic. It feels like there were some very obvious like playing factors that went in and just bad luck. Like they missed a ton of good shots. That's not
when you miss 45.
You can't make those for you. Like,
right.
What do you want? Yeah.
The retort is he should have told them to go to the rim. Okay. You can say go to the he's not sitting there with a controller going,
Right.
okay, so I'm gonna drive, I'm gonna do this, no, they are his whole thing is read, react. You are empowered as players. This is not college. This is Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday. You have the ball in your hands, a defender in front of you. You guys play at the absolute highest level. You've all succeeded at the absolute highest levels of this game. You should be able to see a defender, read the second line of the defense, third line of the defense, and say, drive here works. And if you make a mistake, our job is to be like, you're making a mistake. Go do something different. And they're looking at it and going, oh man, no, this is a great spot for me to take a three. Like, you can't just go out. You can't pull Jayson Tatum. You can't pull Jaylen Brown and be like, no, you sit here because you took too many 3-pointers. It just doesn't work that way.
And again, that's like how it probably worked for a lot of the people who are watching these guys, right? Like,
right. In high school, I got benched.
That's right. I would get benched. And it's like, yeah, you would.
You would.
You have not played professional basketball, like that it's not the same thing. I don't know how to tell this to every single, Sunday afternoon warrior who goes out there and is like, yeah, I play in this league. It's like, it's not the same thing. It's
a different
world.
It's not the same thing. And I don't want to make this sound disrespectful. I'm trying to make it like I'm trying to get it through to people.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It is not the same. When your best players are making decisions on the floor, you can tell them, you can scream at them. And then after the game, they can sit there and be like, oh, geez, we probably shouldn't have done that. But egos, ability, like, I know I can make this shot in this spot. Tatum, Brown, those guys are tough shot makers. They take tough shots. That's what you do. That's why they get paid $50 million a year to shoot a basketball, to play basketball, because they do things that you're like, oh man, he shouldn't have done that. Went in. Like, what's Luka Doncic's signature killer shot? A fadeaway, falling out of bounds 3-pointer at the hash mark that he's killed the Celtics with multiple times. He hits that crazy thing. Guys hit hard shots, but that has nothing to do with coaching. And that's where I am trying to hammer this home. Tom Thibodeau's firing. It's a lot of things going on, but it just goes to show, like, it's not about, are you good at X's and O's? There's a lot that goes into coaching. Let's continue this because I'm running long here, but Joe Mazzulla, like, I have had private conversations with Joe Mazzulla about things. I will try, without betraying the privacy of the conversations, to explain to you how an NBA head coach, his mind works. That's next. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers, you get $200 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet hits. NBA Finals. It's Thursday night, so by the time you listen to this podcast, maybe the game has started. Maybe the game has over. Whichever, you can hop in. If the Pacers are making a run and they come out to a hot start, maybe you think, I see something here in OKC that they're going to turn things around. And you can bet an over-under on the second half. You can bet on maybe Aaron Nesmith or Tyrese Halliburton. If somebody's starting slow, you can bet on somebody having a big recovery. It's all there on FanDuel. Same game parlays, combined live prop bets mid-game. You can do all of these different things. It's all there on an app that's super easy to use for you to figure out. So go check it out. If you're new, again, sign up, go through that process. $5, your first bet. If that hits, boom, $200 in bonus bets. Now make sure when you're signing up, you use the tools that are there. Set your budget, set your limits. We want everybody to have fun. If gambling is something you want to do, go for it, but do it responsibly. Don't go overboard. Just bet what you can afford to lose. If you lose it, move on. Next time, you get them again next time. You'll be okay. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Game 1 is Thursday night. And after the game, Jake Madison and I will step onto Locked On NBA Game Night, and we will break down everything from Game 1. So go check that out wherever you get your podcast, Locked On NBA Game Night. All right, Tom. I don't know if anybody listened to the I want to call it the Low Post, but the Zach Lowe podcast now. He said a perfect thing when talking about the Thibodeau firing. It's like, I'll sum it up. Basically, whatever you think, like if you had an opportunity to talk to a coach and you wanted to say, give him a piece of your mind. You do blah, blah, blah. Why do you do this? He would come out, Joe would, Tom would, everybody would. Adrian Griffin would. Whoever you think, whoever the worst coach you think, they'd come up with an explanation, a breakdown that would make your head spin. Make your head spin. You'd be like, oh, well, I didn't think of that. Like, no, of course you didn't think of that because you're not an NBA head coach. You don't think about any of that stuff.
Do you think Jim Boylan would? Never mind.
Yes. Maybe in a weird way, but yes.
Yeah, your head might be spinning. Yeah.
It would be spinning. Now, look, all of us on the beat, you have conversations with everybody. And Joe and I have talked about stuff. I've asked them specifically about certain things that have happened in games because I get confused. You know, I've never played in the NBA. I've never sniffed NBA coaching, playing, strategy, other than me watching and breaking it down myself and trying to learn things along the way. I feel good about where I am, but geez, when I talk to Joe and I'm like, hey, why did you do this? Oh, well, we had this guy here and they would just do this. And he starts like throwing out some defensive terms. I'm like, whoa, hold on. What does that mean? And like, you feel like an idiot trying to ask him questions because, as I've always said, I feel like I'm a science teacher. I'm a high school science teacher. These guys are astrophysicists and fans are like largely students. And I can be the science teacher that knows more than the students. But when it comes to the astrophysicists, we're basically all in the same class because those guys are so smart that it's like a completely different field.
Yeah. I like that one because it's like the astrophysicists are discovering the science that you are then trying to interpret for the students. Like
explain it away and be like, okay, I'm going to strip away all technical stuff. This is all you need to know because fans don't need to know stuff the way we know stuff and the way they know stuff. You just like, I hope that people take something away and go, oh, I'll watch for that next time. But Joe will explain like, well, then if we do this, then they do this, and then they sub this person in, and then we can't have this matchup because we can't have this person on the floor with that person. So if we let them sub this person in, we have to keep this person in here and we have to put him in this spot. And because he's in this spot, it allows these two people to interact and we can put this person in the action. And you go on and on and on. And you're like, and it becomes and if we do that, then they do this. And then we would have to do this. And then they would do that. And then we would do this. And it's like total chess. So something you think, you're like, why do you have this person in? Why did you run this action? Why did you do this? There's 10 different reasons. There's a whole like 5 moves ahead that these guys are in. And you don't realize all of that stuff when it's happening. That's what NBA coaching kind of is.
And it does make you wonder a little bit when they start, when an organization fires a coach, right? And they're like, okay, like we're getting rid of this guy. It's always interesting because it's like, okay, basically coaches all are thinking in those terms, right?
Yes.
Coaches are thinking 5 moves ahead. It's just that like 5 moves ahead could go any number of different ways, right? So what the organization is kind of saying is like, okay, Tom Thibodeau was thinking about this game, 5 moves ahead, 6 moves ahead, 10 moves ahead, whatever. We want somebody who's going to think like 5 to 10 different moves ahead, right? Mm-hmm. And we want to see how that guy takes this team and puts that up against, the like Rick Carlisle's 10 moves ahead, or how that guy goes up against Joe Mazzulla's 10 moves ahead. Because those 10 moves are always shifting and changing. And it's, so all these different philosophies are really just different ways of thinking ahead in that way. Yeah.
That's right. And so each coach has his own like 10 things that he wants to do. most of the times when guys get fired, it's because they don't have the relationships with the guys to get them to do those 10 things.
Right.
And like Michael Malone did in Denver.
Right.
And then he didn't.
Yeah.
Because those things, maybe sometimes those things don't work anymore. What works for one team doesn't work for the next. Joe Mazzulla could get fired next year for all we know. We don't know because next year's team's going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And if the stuff that he's trying to do, the philosophy no longer resonates, your relationship is no longer good, then those guys aren't going to do those things. It's the buy-in has to be there. You have to have a plan, but I've said this a million times in the podcast. No matter who the coach is, every single coach in the NBA, every single one of them can give you X's and O's, can give you good stuff that is super, super smart. Do you have the relationships, the relationship building, the personal skills to get these guys to do these things? You know, the stuff that makes Drew Holiday say, man, Joe made me a better defender. I didn't think of things the way he did. Like that's what makes a good coach.
For sure. And it's one of the things that's, I mean, just to on Tibbs, right? That it makes it so interesting that like him and Doc Rivers worked so well for that 2008 team, right? Where it's like, it was like that specific dynamic of those two guys. Like they're both very highly successful coaches on their own by any metric you want to use. I know, like I know people like to, like make fun of both of them, but like these are two guys who have done a ton of stuff in the NBA, which makes them great coaches. Just full stop, period, right? But then those two guys coming together and with that group, that made a championship quality team, right? Like that whole dynamic really worked together. Coaching is kind of fun to think about sometimes because of all the butterfly effect stuff that comes with it, where it's just like all the trickle down that happens into the team. It all, it could go really well. It could go really badly. It could go really well one year and go really badly another year. It's
so much. It's such a human thing where you're relying on a human element to get through to these guys, and you got to rely on their humanity to accept the coaching. The players have to accept your coaching, and then they have to go out and do it. And then when they don't do it, because invariably in a game they won't, you have to be able to get through to them to say, okay, stop not doing this. You know better.
Yeah.
And how you do that can change how your relationship works. It's all such a delicate, you're dancing on the edge of a razor blade.
Well, you have to find a very delicate way to say "I told you so." Sometimes
that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
and you can MF players all you want. Yeah, but sometimes they'll be like, "No, MF you," and it'll be like, "Oh, okay," and that could be the end of it. That could be it.
Yep.
Because the players have all the power.
Yeah,
and like that could be the end of it.
Yeah.
And that's how you get to be Tom Thibodeau with, Josh Hart, barking in your ear one time, or Mikal Bridges saying things, or Karl Anthony Towns saying things. It's like you had one player, everything was great, and you had one player, and you're like, whatever. And you never know. So
yeah,
it's delicate. It's delicate. Let's wrap this up. Let's look at these NBA Finals teams, OKC and Indy, and see, is there anything for the Celtics to learn from these two teams? That's coming up in just a second. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA Big Board if you want to get caught up on the draft. Locked On NBA Big Board, Rafael Barlow is incredible at what he does. He knows the draft inside and out. He travels all over the world. He scouts. He does all kinds of crazy stuff. So check out Locked On NBA Big Board. Blah. Okay, now NBA Finals, OKC and Indy tip off Thursday night. The Celtics are going through a retool, whatever you want to call it. And you saw Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce on their podcast. KG was talking about, you can't, it's not about 3 anymore, not big 3 anymore. It's about 8. It's about 9. It's about depth. And we talk about copycat leagues. Is this again, I'll pose the question a little bit differently than I've been teasing it. Are these guys, have they copied the Celtics and are succeeding with the Celtics formula? Is there something for the Celtics to learn from these guys, or are these guys already following what Boston's already done?
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know about following, right? Because I think that like one of the things that you realize as like the current NBA, there's so much talent in it that there are going to be different ways to build different types of teams. I think that like so you look at a team like Denver, and it's like, okay, you're built around the best player in the NBA. All right, easy enough. Take all the stuff that just compliments him, blah, 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 throw it out there. You're good. You got a contender. Like, but then when you have a team like OKC, it's like you have an exceptional talent. You didn't necessarily knew that you had an exceptional talent right at the beginning. So, you've done all this team building stuff to put yourself in the best position possible. I don't know that they were necessarily copying the Celtics. I think they were just like trying to like, okay, let's have as many bites at the apple as we possibly can. And hey, it turns out that one of them hit very early and then a couple of them hit very early. And now it's like, dang, you guys put together a championship favorite with all these bites at the apple. You guys are pretty good at biting apples. So then you have like the Pacers, where it's like I feel like, again, this is a team that just did a really good job of bringing in pretty good guys. Like the Pacers are not a tank team. They haven't tanked, and like in a long time. And so they just kept bringing in good players. And the more they did that and the more they refined that, they ended up bringing in a lot of good players and got a little bit lucky in the Eastern Conference that kind of fell apart. So like, I think these things, like, I don't know that I think that they're copying the Celtics, but I do think that what we are seeing is that, yeah, having a lot of good players matters a lot, because, you have any weaknesses on your team. And, I think if there's somewhere where teams are either copying the Celtics or where the Celtics are, maybe leading the charge on something, it's like making sure that you don't have any weaknesses on the floor and that you can exploit other people's weaknesses. Right. I think that's one thing where, killer whale offense, right? Like that, right. Like that's associated with the Celtics forever.
That's right. It is. And I think the Pacers are a sign. Like when we talk about coaching, good coaching, part of good coaching is also understanding who you have.
Yes, 100%.
And leaning into what you have.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to the Celtics, like who you have is a bunch of experienced guys that you can trust. So you let them go out there, read, and make plays on their own. You kind of let them do certain things. And the plays you call are more specifically to get them certain matchups.
Yeah.
With the Pacers, I think Carlisle has just said, we've got athletes. We've got, these guys can run, and let's just lean into it. What a good coach looks at his team and says, what maximizes this team? And this is why I was always critical of Mike D'Antoni, who has a fantastic system and philosophy if the players are right.
Yeah.
But you have to get him the right players. Whereas I look at Greg Popovich, and I think the Spurs are a shining example of first run with Tim Duncan and David Robinson, defense first, grind it out, grimy team. And then the Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, very offense first, beautiful game, passing, offense, defense plays off of your offense. That's why Greg Popovich is one of the all-time best to me, better than Phil Jackson, who worked like I think Pop is above Phil, and right there with Red. The guy relationships, he's got it. Luck, sure, they lucked into Tim Duncan, and Tim Duncan bought in, just like KG bought in with Doc, and that kind of jumps, pushed Doc into a different stratosphere. But also understanding these are the horses that I have. I'm not entering Clydesdales into the Kentucky Derby. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And to your point, right? I think that's one of the things Carlisle does so well with Halliburton, right? Is he looks at Halliburton and is like, okay, listen, there's a lot of stuff that you're really good at. And like, a similar thing, right? He got a heck of a player. Like Halliburton is awesome. And Carlisle says, okay, like here, let's do, these 5 to 10 things to absolutely maximize what you're doing. Let's put you in these lineups that maximize what you're doing. Let's, let's build a system. I mean, Halliburton is very, very well suited for what they're doing. And I mean, realistically, I mean, this is kind of a luck thing more than anything, but really well suited for the team that they're facing in the finals. So, I mean, it does come down to luck, but I think to your point, and to bring it all the way back, right, to your point about Mazzulla, his ability to maximize this team is one of the reasons why he is such a good coach. Because whatever you think of him, he has done a really good job of maximizing this group of players, and that makes him a great coach for this group of players. So I don't know. I mean, you can kind of take off that last tag too. Like if you're a great coach for a group of players, you are a great coach in this moment, So
right. And so when it comes to the Celtics learning from these teams, I don't think there's something to take, because I do think that these teams are in a similar mold as the Celtics. Like the star players are very different star players. Like I think Shea, Tatum, and Halliburton are kind of like 3 points on a triangle as far as types of, players that they are. Celtics are built a little bit differently, but I think the one common thread for all three teams is within the construction of those teams is guys who accept the coaching, guys who accept their what they're supposed to do, guys who probably could do more in other situations and have said, I'm okay with doing this for the team. And I do think like the quality of the player, like the quality of the person is important. I am incredibly impressed by OKC this season in that vein, almost more so than, hey, what a defense. Hey, Shea, all this other stuff. I thought after last season, there was a strong potential for okay, that was fun. Now me, now I'm the star. Like, okay, what about me? What about my shine? And no one did that. They stayed true to themselves. I've seen so many teams be like together and dancing on the sidelines and throwing the towels over the reporter's head one year, and then the next year it falls apart because the second best player is like, well, I should be a number one. Or the third best player saying I should be a number two, or I need more shots. And they didn't do any of that stuff. The quality of the person is, especially with the second apron and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
The individual, like there is a personality test. These guys who, I honestly, I think like the Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, mentality, like people are like value so much is great, but it's not that type of personality anymore. You need your stars to be a little bit more humble in a way and include everybody. Like I think KG's right. It's about the 9. And like, even with Jokic is like the best player. And where are they? Their coach is fired and he's good. He's done. But
also, why is he the best player? One of the reasons he's the best player is because he's such a great distributor and passer and gets everybody involved. Yeah.
All about everybody else.
Yep.
So I think the lesson here is that the Celtics are on the right track. I think the organizational alignment is where it's supposed to be. And it'd be very curious what the new ownership does, but I don't think that's going to change much. Ownership all the way down to, guys who wash the towels. Everybody's on the same page. And I'll end it with this. I'm going to give Joe Mazzulla some credit for that too, because he has said, if you've heard him talk, he says like he spends a lot of time with like the staff at the Auerbach Center, the people who cook the food, the people who do all the other stuff. Because he said, he's like, the players who walk into the practice facility see a dozen people before they see the coach.
Yeah.
And if they're not all on the same page, then the whole thing is at risk of falling apart. So Joe takes the time to spend with all of these other people and make sure that everybody's kind of like echoing the same message, whatever it is. That's the stuff you don't see when it comes. The reason why a team is so good, that type of attention to detail. So the top to bottom thing, the Celtics have it, Indy has it, OKC has it. No shock, really, when you think about it, those teams are as successful as they are. And some of these other teams who might probably maybe should be more successful have fallen off a little bit. So, all right. Solid Friday show, Tom.
That's it, man. Finals are here.
Finals are here. And then, then it's then what? We'll figure it out.
Mean, be a more interesting offseason than the last offseason.
Mm-hmm.
That is for sure.
That is for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Tom. Thanks for hopping on.
Appreciate you.
I always appreciate Tom Westerholm. Thank you for joining the show there. And thank you. I appreciate you listening, watching very much. If you're an everydayer, if you're with me Monday through Friday, you know I love you. Thank you so much for committing the time to, I want to make this show something that Celtics fans can enjoy, maybe learn something from. Even if you disagree, hopefully we, can have that conversation. Great place to do that is in the comment section of the YouTube page. Hopefully you're enjoying the show, watching the show. If you're new, welcome aboard. I'd love to make you an everydayer. So please subscribe, watch the show, comment, all of that stuff, and share it. Share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.